Hey there, Dempsey from the Diz Insider here. I hope you are having a magical day. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, stay a while, because I think you're going to want to hear what I have to say about, well, what I firmly believe will wind up being one of my favorite films of the year. And if you read the title, you know that the film I'm talking about is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was written and directed by James Gunn, and it follows Marvel's signature team of misfits for a third and potentially last time as they encounter a new threat tied to Rocket's past. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Pom Klementif, Sean Gunn, Vin Diesel, and Bradley Cooper all reprise their roles from the previous entries, obviously, but this time they're joined by newcomers Maria Bakalova, Will Poulter, and Chuck Woody Awuji. Now, before I even begin to get into this review, I just need to get this off my chest. Guardians of the Galaxy is easily Marvel's best trilogy to date. Okay, no contest. How else do I say this? It is a perfect ending to the beautiful story that James Gunn started to tell us nearly a decade ago. But it's not a perfect film. And I'm going to explain to you why that is in just a minute, okay? I just need you to know that regardless of its imperfections, it is still very much awesome, okay? Like, I love this movie. And yes, it's okay to love something and still recognize its imperfections. But before I do that, I just want to tell you about why I think this movie ruled. Or what I thought were the best parts about this movie and what I think a lot of you will also enjoy. The action. James Gunn is on his A-game here, okay? Not to say that any of his previous work is bad. It's just that watching this, you get the sense that the man finally has it all down to a science. I mean, there is one sequence in the third act that is either one shot or made to look like one shot. Nevertheless, I had to check my pulse during it consistently to make sure that I wasn't dead, because my God, was it glorious. And there are several moments throughout the film like that, where you're going to just sit back in your chair, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is ecstasy. This is not even that it's cinema, that it is just glorious. It is just everything that you probably have ever wanted from a Guardians film, and everything that you didn't know you needed from a Guardians film too. And if you think you're gonna have to wait for the movie to get going to really feel those emotions, trust me, the first 5 minutes alone have a great sequence that sets both the tone and the stakes for everything. Which brings me to the next thing that I really loved about this film: the drama. I remember after the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, when it was announced that James Gunn would be working on another one, he posted something to social media that was along the lines of, like, I cannot wait for you being us, the audience, to see what adventure and heartbreak our heroes have in store for them. And, like, obviously, adventure, you know, they travel the world with Thor, right? They've done a lot. They saved the world more than one time. Heartbreak, they lost Yondu, they lost a Gamora, right? You know, they've had to endure so much and learn and grow, and they've become a family along the way. And, like, it wasn't until watching this film that I realized, like, oh, this is what he was talking about. This is the culmination of all that adventure and all that heartbreak. And if you thought the deaths of Yondu and Gamora were heartbreak enough, well, I've got some news for you. In all seriousness though, one of the most surprising things about this film is just how many different arcs there are and how many stakes there are as well. And I can totally see people watching this movie and be like, there's too many threads to follow. I think there's too many characters. James, we have too many Guardians, okay, sir? I can see that being a possibility because it is admittedly a lot, but I like that. Like, I love so many characters. I love movies with lots of characters. Like, hello, Avengers Endgame injected into my veins, okay? But once again, I could see some people just saying, like, I don't know, it's too much. It might get a little confusing or it might get too wearisome. Nevertheless, like I was saying, one of the best and most surprising parts, to me, in my opinion, was how well the James Gunn manages and packages all of those things. And it's not just enough to follow all of those characters and all of those threads and all of those things that are happening with, you know, each character's relationship to one another. It is the fact that he also has to kind of close it up. So there's so much that he does here that I think very few other directors and storytellers could do and do as well as he does. I guess what I'm trying to say is that while not every arc is as big as Rocket's, right? His is the primary arc, the most important to this particular story. You never get the sense that any other character is less important. No one gets left behind. Now, obviously, as I have already mentioned to some degree, this film takes some pretty big swings when it comes to the drama. But going into it, we kind of know that. Every single one of the trailers teases that. What I'm trying to say is that on top of this being the darkest Guardians film to date, it's also the funniest. Now, you might recall that in my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I said that there was a sequence in that film that might go down as one of the MCU's funniest to date. I still feel that way. However, I'm going to make a similarly bold statement right now and go out on a limb to say that this film might just be the MCU's funniest film to date as a whole. As a whole, okay? Let that sink in, despite everything that I told you about the drama and the darkness, okay? It's the same thing that I said about the action. Here, James Gunn feels like he is on another level. And it's not just enough to say that he's mastered the the reactions and responses that each of the characters has and has developed as a result of their relationships over the years. It's just James Gunn's really got a great idiosyncratic approach to even side characters, right? There's a great bit in this movie with a cameo that's going to make everybody smile, okay? And it might already be out there. I don't want to say it in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But there's a great little exchange involving a brand new character to this film with an actor that many of you, as I said, will be familiar with. And it brought my audience to tears for a totally different reason. Now, you can't talk about James Gunn or any of his films, really, without talking about what it might just be arguably the most important part, the music. Yet again, James Gunn nails the tone of this movie with his personalized jukebox of classic songs. And I just want to say, there are some masterful needle drops in this movie. Like, the very first one and the very last one in particular. And I just know that those two songs are going to climb the Spotify and Apple Music charts for no other reason than being in this movie. Truly, like that. But aside from placement, which James Gunn just proves that he's the king of, right? There's something else that he does in this film with the music that I feel like he's done before in the other movies, but it's not as noticeable, but it still works. And that is essentially, he gives characters the control over what plays. There are several moments in this film where characters decide what songs they want to listen to based on their mood. And you would think it feels almost like they're breaking the fourth wall. But like I said, it works. And it really puts you in their headspace. And the opening sequence is, like I said, a great song and a great example of that. Once again, I really was a fan of it. Now, I said this once, and I'll say it again. I love this film, okay? It is the perfect ending to this story, but I don't think it's a perfect film. I cannot wait to watch this movie again. I cannot wait to show it to my son. I cannot wait for it to be on Disney Plus so I can burn it over and over again and watch it like 3 more times after that. Still, there are just some things that I think could have been better, okay? The first is the timing in the third act, okay? And it's not, you know, it's not to say that the film drags, okay? I just felt like the third act was a bit overlong. And it's not because James Gunn is taking his sweet-ass time winding things down for our characters. It's not like the last 20 minutes of Star Wars Episode 3 where everybody's being put in their places for, you know, where they have to be at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4, okay? It's not like that. It's more like there are some elements in the story that feel like they don't belong, and then there's too much of a focus on them. Without giving too much away, essentially, there's kind of a subplot that's kind of thrown in the third act regarding a group of children. Don't worry, it's nowhere near as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's not as random as that. But in hindsight, I really do think it could have been tweaked down a bit. My second issue is surprisingly with a character, and that is Adam Warlock, who I went into this expecting to absolutely love. I loved Will Poulter's portrayal of him. I like the way he's introduced, and I do like most of the things they do with his character. Conversely, his character doesn't have a lot to do in the film. And you can tell by the halfway point that they're clearly setting him up to be a big character and a bigger presence further down the line. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that at all, especially if you're familiar with the comics, where you know he's like literally one of the most powerful beings in the world. In the Infinity Gauntlet storyline that, you know, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame are based on, he is like the key character that helps stop Thanos. Just to give you an idea, if you didn't know how powerful this guy is. And he still has that kind of power here, but yeah, I just expected a little bit more from him. And that could just be me, once again, my personal opinion going into this, saying, oh, I hope they're gonna play up Adam Warlock just like they do in the comics, and it just didn't fall to my expectations. There's nothing wrong with the film as a whole, and once again, similar to the storyline with the kids, it still works. It doesn't ruin the film whatsoever. It's something that, once again, I feel could have been done better. And who knows, maybe there's a reason it wasn't. Maybe his time to shine is yet to come. Now, to be honest, it doesn't really matter what I think about this movie, right? Whether I liked what they did with Adam Warlock or not, or whether I, absolutely adored the music and the humor. At the end of the day, it matters what you think. And I'm just here to tell you that when I was watching this movie in a crowded theater with hundreds of strangers, that everybody laughed, and everybody cried, and everybody cheered, and everybody had a really good time. And if that doesn't give you a consensus as to what you should expect from this movie, or whether or not you think you're gonna like it, then I don't know what will. So yeah, we're not gonna give this film a rating, at least not a traditional rating. I'm gonna rate it G for Guardians. But in all seriousness though, go see Guardians of the Galaxy for yourself. You are the only one that can decide if you like a movie. And if you watch this and then go see Guardians, come back after you see Guardians and let us know what you think. I'm very eager to know. And I'd be very intrigued to hear what other people thought about this film that weren't critics anyway. But like I said, I think for the most part, I think general audiences will find at least one thing to really enjoy and resonate with. But whatever. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. It really does mean the world to everybody at the Diz Insider. If you're new here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button as well. And if you think that it's good enough to share with your aunt or your uncle or anybody on Facebook, do that too. Share it with the entire world, okay? And yeah, we will have some more videos like this in the future. We've got a bunch of movies on the horizon that we are very excited to review and share. Disney movies, that is, because we're Disney Insider, everything Disney. You know the deal. If you're watching this, you know. But Thank you so much again. Yeah, until next time, I'm Editor-in-Chief Dempsey Pillot from the Diz Insider. Have a wonderful day.